The autumn rain tapped gently against the windows of Daniel's Kitchen, a modest neighborhood restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop. Daniel Rodriguez wiped down the counter with practiced hands, his salt and pepper beard catching the warm light from the overhead lamps. At 42, he had learned that life's greatest recipes often came from the heart, not from any cookbook. The lunch rush had ended, and the familiar quiet of late afternoon settled over the empty restaurant. Daniel was preparing for the evening service when he heard it, a sound that stopped him in his tracks, a baby's cry, high and desperate, coming from just outside his door. He moved to the window and peered through the rain-streaked glass. There, under the narrow awning of his restaurant, stood a young woman in an expensive navy blazer. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a professional bun, but strands had escaped, dampened by the rain. She held a crying infant, maybe 8 months old with golden curls, and her face showed the universal look of a parent at wit's end. Daniel had seen that expression before, in his own mirror, during those long nights after his wife Maria had passed 3 years ago. When their daughter Sophia was teething, when she wouldn't eat, when nothing seemed to soothe her tiny heart, he recognized desperation wrapped in love. Without hesitation, Daniel unlocked his door and stepped outside. "Excuse me," he said gently, his voice barely audible over the baby's cries. "I couldn't help but notice. Is everything all right?" The woman looked up, her green eyes bright with unshed tears. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice strained. "We're waiting for our driver, but she won't stop crying. I've tried everything. Her bottle, her pacifier. I don't know what else to do." Daniel smiled, the same smile he'd given countless worried parents over the years. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward his restaurant. "It's warm inside, and sometimes a change of scenery helps." The woman hesitated for just a moment, something in Daniel's gentle demeanor. Perhaps the flour still dusting his apron, or the genuine concern in his dark eyes, made her nod. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm Catherine Mills, and this is Emma." "Daniel Rodriguez," he replied, holding the door open. "Welcome to my kitchen." Inside, the restaurant felt like a warm embrace. The scent of fresh herbs and simmering tomatoes filled the air. Family photographs lined one wall, pictures of Daniel with his own daughter Sophia, now 15. Memories of birthday dinners and holiday celebrations. Catherine settled into a booth, still rocking Emma, who continued to fuss. Daniel watched for a moment, taking in the scene. The baby's cheeks were flushed, her tiny fists waving in frustration. But there was something else, a familiar restlessness he remembered well. "You know," Daniel said thoughtfully, moving toward his kitchen, "my daughter used to cry like that when she was teething." But there was something else, too. She was always hungry for more than milk. Even as a baby, she wanted real flavors. Catherine looked up hopefully. "Real flavors?" Daniel disappeared into his kitchen and returned moments later with a small white bowl and a tiny spoon. Inside the bowl was something that looked like baby food, but somehow different, richer, more aromatic. "It's my grandmother's recipe," Daniel explained, settling beside Catherine in the booth. "Sweet potato and apple, with just a touch of cinnamon and vanilla. My abuela used to make it for all the babies in our family. She said babies know good food when they taste it." He held up the spoon, a portion so small it barely covered the tip. "May I?" Catherine nodded, desperation overriding any hesitation. Daniel brought the spoon to Emma's lips with the patience of someone who had done this countless times. The baby's crying stopped, replaced by curiosity. She tasted, paused, then opened her mouth eagerly for more. "Oh my goodness," Catherine breathed, watching her daughter's face transform from frustration to contentment. "She's actually eating." Daniel continued feeding Emma, speaking softly in both English and Spanish, the same gentle words he'd once whispered to Sophia. "Mi niña bonita." There we go. That's better, isn't it? As Emma ate, Daniel told Catherine about his grandmother's philosophy. She used to say that food is love made visible, that even the smallest people deserve to taste the care we put into what we make for them. She never believed in bland food for babies, just gentle food made with intention. Catherine watched in amazement as her daughter finished the entire small bowl. then settled peacefully in her arms. For the first time in days, Emma's eyes began to flutter closed. "I can't believe this," Catherine whispered. "She's been so fussy lately." Nothing satisfied her. I was beginning to think I was failing as a mother. Daniel's expression grew tender. "You're not failing," he said quietly. "Motherhood, parenthood, it's the hardest job in the world. And sometimes, we all need help. There's no shame in that." Catherine looked around the restaurant, really seeing it for the first time. The worn but clean tables, the family photographs, the obvious care that went into every detail. "You have a daughter?" she asked. "Sophia, she's 15 now." Daniel's face lit up. "These days, she's more interested in her friends than in helping Dad in the kitchen. But we still cook together sometimes. She's teaching me about social media, and I'm teaching her my mother's tamale recipe." "It must have been hard, raising her on your own." Daniel was quiet for a moment. "My wife passed when Sophia was 12. Those first months, I thought I was drowning. But you know what I learned? Children are resilient, and they teach us how to be strong in ways we never imagined. The love doesn't get smaller when you're alone. It just gets more concentrated." Catherine felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said softly. "And thank you. Not just for helping Emma, but for understanding. Are you raising Emma alone?" Daniel asked gently. Catherine nodded. "Her father." "Well, let's just say he wasn't ready for the responsibility. Most days I feel like I'm flying blind. I run a company. I'm used to having answers. But with her, I feel so inadequate sometimes." Daniel smiled. "You know what I see when I look at you? I see a mother who brought her crying baby in from the rain, who was willing to accept help from a stranger, who puts her child's needs before her own comfort. That's not inadequate. That's love." Emma stirred slightly in Catherine's arms, making small, contented sounds. The transformation was remarkable. The frantic, red-faced baby from 20 minutes ago had become a peaceful, satisfied child. "What was in that recipe?" Catherine asked. "I mean, really?" Daniel chuckled. "Sweet potatoes from the farmer's market down the street. Organic apples that I roasted this morning. Cinnamon from Mexico that my cousin sends me. Pure vanilla, not the imitation stuff. And time. Lots of time. I cook everything slowly. Let the flavors develop." He paused, his expression becoming more thoughtful. "But honestly, I think the secret ingredient is intention. When you're making food for someone you care about, even someone you've just met, it changes how you approach every step. You taste as you go. You adjust. You put your heart into it." Catherine was quiet, absorbing his words. In her world of boardrooms and profit margins, she'd forgotten about intention, about the small, careful acts that showed love. "Could you," she began hesitantly, "could you teach me? The recipe, I mean. I'd like to be able to make it for her." Daniel's face broke into a warm smile. "Of course. But why don't you bring Emma by tomorrow? We can make it together. That way, you'll really understand the process." "Are you sure? I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing," Daniel assured her. "You're giving an old chef an excuse to share his grandmother's wisdom. Besides, Sophia's at her friend's house tomorrow afternoon. The kitchen gets lonely without someone to cook for." Catherine's phone buzzed, her driver announcing his arrival. But for the first time all day, she wasn't rushing. Emma was calm. She felt centered. And this unexpected encounter had given her something she hadn't realized she was missing. "Hope. Thank you, Daniel," she said, carefully standing with her sleeping daughter, "for everything. I'll see you tomorrow?" 2:00, Daniel confirmed. "And Catherine, don't worry about bringing anything except Emma and an appetite to learn. The best recipes are passed down, not written down." As Catherine walked to her waiting car, Emma peaceful in her arms, Daniel watched from his window. He thought about his grandmother's words, about food being love made visible. Today, he'd fed a hungry baby, but somehow he felt like he'd been nourished too. Sometimes, he reflected, the most important recipes aren't found in cookbooks. They're discovered in moments of kindness, in the willingness to help a stranger, in the understanding that we all need someone to care for us. Whether we're 8 months old or 42 years old, tomorrow, he would teach Catherine how to roast sweet potatoes and fold in just the right amount of cinnamon. But today he had reminded himself that his kitchen wasn't just a place to prepare food. It was a place where love was made visible, one gentle spoonful at a time. The end.